Alright guys, welcome back to the Cole and Tabor podcast. We've got a cool little discussion to have here today about three very different movies that all came out in the last few weeks. And I'm excited. It's a very kind of weird intersection of genres and stuff, but I think some good movies in this section.
I forgot to have that all, so you couldn't look into my closet.
Too
I
late.
got skeletons in there. Dang, you saw all my CDs.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm embarrassed that I have a dead medium. Shit. Don't look at my VHSs.
You're so outed,
Anyways.
dude.
Yeah. Lame.
That just makes you cool, though. Those will be the same thing as vinyls in like 10 years.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. I think. Have you ever tried to rewatch a VHS? It's horrible.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's been a long time since I have.
They're all grainy. They're all boxed in. It's like it's not better.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for every movie to come out on Blu-ray, DVD, and vinyl or VHS.
Yeah, there was a short time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gathered here today. And what is up? What
were the
what have you
movies
been
we
watching?
watched?
That we watched first Omen. That's the one I literally just saw.
Same, I saw it today.
Monkey Man. And Civil War.
That's right. Did you
Yep,
watch
and that
anything
should
else
be it.
outside of that grouping this couple of weeks?
So I finished The Fall of the House of Usher
Nice.
on
Okay.
Netflix. It was pretty good. I think it's not as good as Midnight Mass.
Okay.
I also I rewatched Taxi Driver,
Ooh,
and I watched Dirty Harry for the first time.
cool. Okay.
Yeah. It's because I've got an audio book about Quentin Tarantino talking about a bunch of 70s and 70s movies. So I had to go rewatch a couple of them.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen either of those, and those are things I think that like you're supposed to see. So I'll get to them.
Yeah. Yeah, one day.
One
There's so
day.
many movies no one can blame you. What about you? What have you seen?
I went to the theaters for something else besides these three movies. What was it? I watched that David Dastmalchian one.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a talk show host, and it is called Late Night with the Devil.
Oh. Was it good?
Bro, it was good. It was really good for about an hour. And then
Okay.
you get toward the end, because it's like an hour and a half on the nose.
Uh-huh.
You get toward the end, and basically when it comes time to pay up, you realize that like the movie doesn't know what it's doing. Like whoever wrote it was just writing stuff, and then it had to end, and so it all sucked for the last little bit. It was just like lame and pointless and stupid, but it was
Okay,
so
so-
cool leading up.
Was it pretty scary?
Not really. It was thought-provoking for the first hour. It was
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it got very close to blending like classic Halloween, Universal Pictures horror. Kind of got close to blending that and what you'd expect from like a highly stylized modern movie that is also a period set movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, stylistically it was awesome. It was like really, it was very crafted, very cool. And David Dastmalchian's acting was everything you would hope for from him. And yeah, dialogue was fun. Like everything about it was just like fun and just oozing style and very cool. And they did some of the narration via like a documentary sort of feel.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it had a lot going for it, and then story just crapped the bed in the last like 20 minutes.
Is it told in like a old footage, like from a dead TV show? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, it's archival footage from an unaired, or no, a live broadcast that was basically like the final thing to happen for this show. So the beginning of the movie is like, documentary style retelling of the events leading up to, and it's like, and now we're just gonna roll the, a VHS tape of the live broadcast plus some archival footage that we found. So that's how that
okay.
went. Yep.
Okay.
So it was interesting.
I was gonna say I also finally watched Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh, how was that?
It was pretty good. I didn't realize how that it would be what it was. It was pretty. If I remember, it was pretty gory. Crap. Now my memory's fading on it a little bit. It wasn't what I thought, because I thought it would be a little funner, but it gets really dark.
Interesting.
If you've ever seen like Heathers. I also didn't realize it was directed by Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda.
Whoa. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I totally forgot about that movie. And I never went and saw it. You said it was dark, though, huh?
Well, so it just kind of went in a direction I wasn't expecting. For some reason, the trailer made it look like it would be kind of really like fun throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like a little sillier.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just like a point when it, like the character that we are watching kind of changes, and then and it kind of goes in like a darker direction.
Interesting.
Yeah, the movie's still like light on its toes and fun, but the subject matter becomes different.
Okay.
I don't want to say that either. I don't know. I don't think you'd like it.
Okay.
Because you were saying you wouldn't like it before, so I would just stick to that.
Okay. But yeah, so it feels like there's a bit of a change up somewhere in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Spoilers. It comes when they kill someone, and then they learn that they can sew pieces of people onto Cole Sprouse and then electrocute him.
All right.
And then that becomes part of his body.
Gotcha.
So that just kind of,
spirals from there.
Yeah.
Okay. When they put a giant piece of genitalia on his forehead.
Yeah. They actually do a penis.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Spoilers for the movie we're not even going to talk about.
We'll add that to the list.
The list of not to. Oh, the lost.
The spoilers.
Yeah. What did you think? I don't know where to start. What did you think of Monkey Man?
Super fun. Super fun. I think it wasn't as epic as I thought it was going to be, but it was still very strong. And I didn't expect to be like picking apart the story, but I did have a couple of story gripes. But that said, beautifully shot, sound was beautiful, and everything was super fun and just like fast paced and fun.
Yeah, the movie felt like it was like constantly moving. It was like it was like lightning almost.
Yeah.
I thought some of the like erraticness in the fights kind of drew me away from it.
Okay.
A little bit shaky, I'd say.
Yeah.
But the gore, like all that stuff, like that was gruesome and it was nice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude! The first thing I think of when you say that is his fight in the bathroom with the chief of police and the one other guy. He grabs the guy's ankle and the guy's face just like on the edge of the toilet, and you see nothing but splatter. Like, oh,
yeah, it's gnarly.
Yeah,
and the like that whole like part in the, I mean that whole last like 30 minutes, it's nothing but. See, I was hearing people talk about this and that it was like slower or like it wasn't as violent as it was.
Gotcha.
Like as the trailer depicted it as.
Okay.
But then watching it, I was like, I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. It was plenty violent.
Because it plenty violent, plenty fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Dev Patel and his directing in it too.
Yeah, I was really surprised. You usually I mean, he's been acting forever now, so makes sense that he would know something about directing actors. But yeah, you just you hear the words directorial debut and you don't expect something to be really well tuned, but it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of directorial debuts for actors recently that have been pretty cool. Like Ethan Hawke directed a movie recently.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, and then there's Jordan Peele. Like his first movie was a banger.
That's true.
So it happens.
It sure does. And was Maestro Bradley Cooper's first, or had he?
No, A Star Is Born was his first.
Oh, which is strong.
Yeah, that's the one I haven't seen. I like the visuals and the symbolism, and
yeah,
especially that the opening where they're explaining I don't want to butcher the name
Hanuman
of the monkey. Hanuman, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the illustrations in that book, and then the whole story was really cool.
Yeah, I like that too. I think I did want them to make more of the parallels between him and Hanuman for that to be fully satisfying to me, but the usage of it it was enjoyable. Yeah.
And the way they bring up the other gods throughout, and the puppets with the multiple heads, and the way all that stuff is brought up is really cool.
Yeah, it was. And you get is it when he's in the transgender community, when there's a moment where he's surrounded by people and it looks like the panel of the gods in the storybook. I think that's when he wakes up, when they pull him out of the river, stuff like that.
I can't
it's
remember.
Fun.
Yeah, it's really good. What were the things that you didn't like in the story that you were mentioning?
One of them was that wanting the the connection between him and Hanuman to be stronger, for it to be there at all. I want to see pretty direct parallels. And there were, more than anything, some images like that, parallel images, and then some very generalized story parallels that could have been Hanuman and anybody for that matter. It's and he grew stronger. Okay. And that was the entirety of the I don't know. I wish there would have been I want to see this guy is Hanuman incarnate. I want to see something really meaty to that. Didn't get that.
Yeah.
And then struggling to remember other ones. I should remember them because I've talked about it at length with people already. I'll mull over on it. Do you have any that were slight issues for you with the story or anything like that?
Not really. I think no.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it for me was just the action.
Yeah.
I thought the style of it was cool, but then I just also kept thinking I don't know, if it were more like a John Wick or The Raid, I'd be a little bit more into it. You know?
Yeah. Speaking of this genre of really actiony revenge movies, was it last time that we were talking about the Crow remake?
Yes.
And I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea using Bill Skarsgård. Dude, I watched the trailer and I'm sold. Like, I take back what I said.
You're in it?
Yeah, I'm in it. He's like, he actually is kind of shredded. I didn't realize.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like a believable badass, and he's like, he's also like just sad enough looking and just dead enough and just in his own visage that like I think it actually really works.
I think he'll be fine. I like Bill Skarsgård. I don't know if the movie will be good.
Sure.
Because the fun stuff about the original Crow, I don't. There's just a lot of like CGI and fake worlds in that trailer.
Yeah, that's true.
And the original Crow is just such a thing. Did you see the Bill Skarsgård, the other trailer, the Boy Kill World?
No.
Okay. Because I think if that one's around where you are, that should be what we watch next
Okay.
week.
Okay, great. I'm down. Yeah, I'll
it's
watch
also a
anything
movie where, he I think he got buff for both movies. It looks
nice.
like.
Okay.
Or maybe the dude's just buff.
Yeah, maybe comes from a family of actual Vikings. So.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, this looks nuts.
Yeah, it seems very similar to. I mean, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
The trailer looks a little video gamey. It kind of reminds me, and I don't know why this is, of Borderlands and Mad Max.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get that.
And then I realized that the Borderlands movie, I'm less excited for that one now because I found out it was done by someone that I don't. Who? Let me look into. Oh, it's Eli Roth.
Oh, is it
Maybe
really?
it'll be okay. Yeah. It was just like
Rodriguez feel.
Yeah. There was something about like the producers on it was people I didn't like.
Okay. See, I didn't even know they were doing a Borderlands movie actually.
Right. So it says from the producers of Uncharted, Spider-Man, and Venom. So I'm just thinking like,
yeah,
Uncharted and Venom are not the things you want on your poster.
Yeah, it's not a good producer list.
The other thing I was gonna say is, so like with a movie about revenge, like purely about revenge, it seems like this movie doesn't really challenge that in any interesting way.
Okay.
And not that it needs to, but
sure.
Some of my favorite revenge movies all challenge it or seem to like fight that notion that revenge is okay or whatever.
Yeah, right. That's true. I think I didn't really realize that he never for a moment had a struggle about what he intended to do. And you're right, it was like even after getting beat and going through his repair of his like body and spirit and mind and everything, it's he still just continues along the same trajectory, same goals, same mission, same intensity in all of that. Yeah, that's a good point. Could have done with some more internal conflict. It's not like there wasn't
struggle.
Yeah, totally. Wasn't like there wasn't internal pain, but yeah, like some conflict would have been good.
Yeah, like why am I doing this, or is it worth it, or I don't know.
Totally.
Not that movies need that, but when it comes to like revenge and like senseless killing, sometimes it feels like that would be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like a movie like this, it purely like it the part of it is that it's like the violence feels really real. I don't know what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's sitting there like stabbing and breaking bones and breaking faces and stuff like that, and it is pretty real, and like we can kind of feel some of that. I feel like if a character's really interfacing with real carnage in that way, I would think it would cause him some questioning, some conflict,
especially for like the people that are just like just like workers at the party or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Like the dudes.
They might not have been integral to all of the terrible stuff,
Yeah, to the big whatever. But I mean, by the time he kills the dude, I was gonna say the one of the best images is after he kills the main leader, and then he's standing over that painting. It's so that painting is just so cool.
It is.
And then we're like viewing it from the outside of the building, and
right.
Then, it looks like a big fire in the background.
Yeah, that was really cool. I like that. Yeah. Old Devi. Devil Patel. I think I didn't expect for there to be like action movie tropes in this movie, because it just, I don't know, the trailer gave you the impression that it was like so unique and so fresh, and it was to an extent, but it's like it definitely was like he definitely leaned into some action tropes, and like having the nice skin of a like an Indian cultural setting and story and stuff like that. Like, it was nice. That was a nice change of pace, but it didn't make it not a stereotypical action movies in a lot of ways that matter.
Yeah, it was it did still very much feel like American paced, American action, I guess is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, Hollywood action. Yeah. Totally.
Where like when you're watching something like RRR, which is probably the only real Indian movie I've seen, but there's a really stark difference between the way it stylizes it, and then how this movie does.
Totally. Yeah, so some of the tropes that were leaned into, I thought were like weaknesses of the movie. But like, what are you gonna do? That's what he's familiar with, so that's what he wrote into it, and I think he's a fan of all that. So
yeah, potentially also the market or the market it was going to go into. Don't want to speculate too much on his intent. I'm sure we could look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wish I could remember what some of the other gripes I had were story-wise, but there were a couple. Oh, yeah, one of them, I guess it's less story, more like logic, was I don't know how he goes from being a guy who like knows basically how to fight but gets his ass kicked anytime he's actually facing anyone, how he goes from that to spending maybe a month just hitting a punching bag and apparently not doing much else, and then he can take on like 40 guys at once. I don't know how that happens. But
he also ripped open his chest and like had a whole
This is true. This is true. A journey.
Wasn't the fighting in the opening, like the first couple fights we see, those were all staged? Like he threw those fights, right?
Yeah, and I guess I didn't realize that until thinking about the movie afterward, because it wasn't just like when he got back in the ring again, he whooped all these guys, like because he had gotten that much better necessarily. It was like he was just like, okay, I have no need to milk this any longer.
Yeah, I just need to get that money, that shmoney money. Yeah. Overall, I think it's a good movie, and I definitely want to watch it again.
Yeah. Same. And I'm excited to see what he does next, too.
Yeah. Absolutely. I always like it when, like following directors' careers in that way. So I'm excited to hopefully he keeps directing and moving forward in that path.
Yeah, totally.
Do you got anything more?
No, sir, but I did think of a good transition. Unless we want to save the first Omen for last.
No, you're good.
Because I called him Devil Patel. Speaking of the devil. It was a bad transition. It wasn't a good one, but it happened.
I know, you did it.
I did it.
I think we appreciate people that try here.
Sweet. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the first Omen, the one we both just saw today.
Mm-hmm.
I like saving Civil War for last too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think everything that I recognize, like connecting it to the original movie, were probably my least favorite parts.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like, uh, and I guess I really just mean the end, because the end is the part where it feels like it just needs to attach. It needs to give it that reason. Like they even do that
Right.
monologue where it's like, and then the baby goes to spoilers right off the bat, and then the baby goes to the ambassador between
Yeah.
Italy, and it explains like the whole thing, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, and then the last thing Ralph Ineson says is, and his name is Damien.
I know. Oh my gosh. Like, what a terrible thing to end on. And it's just like, yeah, we know. We're here watching this movie because of that. Like, you don't have to tell us anything. Oh,
Yeah.
so stupid.
And it just made like clearly they're gonna come out with another Omen movie that's gonna be with the mother now, the nun.
Yeah, it upsets me because in watching, I told Tabor off camera that I was trying to watch the original trilogy so that I could then be a little more informed in watching this one because I'd never seen any of them before. I watched the first two. I'm about halfway through the third one, and oh god, what was I? Why was I saying that? Where was I going with that? I had something.
They were connecting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and dude, like even not having finished the third one yet, what I can tell you is that this is like, again, barring anything going terribly wrong in the last bit of the third one, this is nearly a perfect trilogy of movies. It's actually like so well constructed, and it's from 3 different directors, which is like you don't get that very often where someone else just picks up the ball and runs with it and makes a really good entry in a long arc. But that's what it's been so far, and like really really well done. And so for them to make this movie clearly attempting to revive the series and add more installments later, I'm not super thrilled about, because this one was not very good. I didn't think.
I think this movie did some things that I really liked.
Okay. I'd agree with that.
But we'll get there.
I would definitely agree.
Like I like the main actor. I didn't like the reveal. I feel like the reveal I figured out. I don't know. And maybe the reveal wasn't supposed to be secret, but the reveal is. Yeah, you could tell. Like, even before that dude, what was his name? I can't remember. The dude who like points at the forehead and then gets fucking hit by that car.
Oh yeah.
Like, I want to say, like, I knew even before that she was that she was the thing that they were all talking about.
You want to know when I knew?
Yeah.
The moment she stepped on screen. The moment she showed up, I was like, oh, it's her. And there's going to be a big mislead about it being someone else, and it's going to be her. Because we just got done talking about this thing. And then when she goes and sees the cardinal, like 5 seconds later, she meets with the cardinal. I had like, and this probably wasn't meant to be this way, but I took it as a further confirmation. Because he was like, it's only been a year and you look like you've grown so much. And they just got done talking about how the pregnancy happened super quick. So I'm like, maybe she just develops super quick. But that probably was not meant to be related to that. But I took it for that.
Yeah. So you just got confirmed. I don't think I don't completely understand. When was this movie set? Was it 71?
Yeah, 71.
And she was born in 1950?
I suppose.
I think that's what it said on the paper.
Okay.
Around there.
Okay.
So I got confused when she's doing the whole remembering thing, where the dude that she kissed in the apparently potentially they had sex in the club. Like, was he a part of the conspiracy, or was that like a myth? Like, was that when it all happened? Is that when they impregnated her? Is when she got drunk?
I think that was when it happened, but that scene, the memory scene, was also super confusing to me. And the way that I sorted it out, I think, is when it shows that her friend slash roommate was also part of this pact. When I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. So basically everything that she told her about the night before, like, oh, I pried you off of that guy, and luckily it was before anything happened, that all of that can be thrown out the window. So, like, I'm assuming the two of them began to get intimate somewhere, and in their vulnerability, they were both bagged and taken. What I don't understand is why they wouldn't just kill him right then and there and, like, have him sit in on the ceremony, because I don't think he was part of it.
No, it didn't seem like he was.
No.
Like, clearly he knew that she was, and why wouldn't he tell her? Like, hey, you've got, like, a weird thing, or...
Yeah.
He's just so secretive about it.
Yeah.
So some of that wasn't great for me. The obviously creepy drawings.
Yeah.
Like, children's creepy drawings in movies, I feel like is a trope that we need to do something about.
Yeah, at least, like, enliven it somehow, like, do something different with it.
Some of the stuff where it was like she was walking around in, like, dark hallways holding lamps and then, like, peeking through doorways, it's like that kind of stuff we've seen hundreds of times, and it just felt like it was padding, like I don't know, something to keep us suspended in suspense, but I wasn't really in suspense in those moments.
Yeah.
And then there's a scare that it got me. It did scare me, but it was dumb. Where she's in her room, she, like, picks her outfit up and puts it on the wall.
Yeah.
And then the camera kind of moves around, and you're just like, come on. Like, I've seen The Nun. I know what's going to happen to those clothes.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, definitely knew it was going to happen. And it did make me jump, too. But that was actually another realization I had about that moment was, like, when that happened, I was like, the people making this movie don't understand what The Omen is. Like, they understand what modern horror is, but they don't seem to understand what The Omen is. They think it's synonymous with, like, The Exorcist or something like that. And I don't think you can...
Well, I think it's more that they think it's synonymous with, like, The Conjuring.
Yeah, actually, that's a far better comparison. Yeah. And it's just not.
Yeah. Because, like, the kills in The Omen, they're all pretty, like, if I remember them right, it's like, they're supernatural, but they're all, there's not a lot of, like, things in the corner of your eye.
Yes,
it's, like, just gruesome death.
Yeah, it's not ghosts going around. It's not freaking hellish monster creatures. It's not hallucinations. It's this stuff happening, I suppose, in some spiritual realm behind the scenes, and you're just seeing the worldly effect of it, both in the personages themselves, like Damien as the offspring of Satan. Like, there's nothing monstrous or creepy about him in a physical sense. It's just the implication of what he is, and you feel all of that because the movie makes you feel it. It's very, very well done. And it doesn't need monsters. It doesn't need jump scares. It has the occasional, horrific, gruesome thing happen and screams and loud music associated with it. But it's not about jumps. It's not about... Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think some of the stuff that I really liked those crosscuts or those crossfades when she's in that room or that time when she's like, I can't remember exactly what's happening, but she's like laying down and then they cross cut with like a bunch of spiders all across her skin.
Right. Yeah, those were good. Nice and slow.
Yeah. Or that time when we're like looking at those ceiling designs and then it's like her in the bed and those are like I like that stuff. It gave it that like 80s vibe.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it did.
when she wakes up and that spider's on her eyelid, that's creepy.
Yeah, dude. That was, especially since I did not realize that we were seeing like her eyelashes or whatever. You know, so macro. Like, and then when you realize what you were seeing, it's like, oh, geez. That was good. I thought Ralph Ineson was like a fantastic double for that character, Father Brennan. Like, looks a lot like the guy in the first movie. So I thought that was really well cast in terms of looks.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I love that guy's voice. Whenever he's on screen in anything, like he's great.
He is. I'm just afraid that occasionally he'll say something that's below the audible register, and I can't even hear it.
He'll get to a brown note, and you'll just shit yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels bad that Carlita is just one big red herring. Like, I know that she is an offspring of Satan, but then when they're like, and she's too young, it just feels like, why even have her there?
Yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah, they didn't make it clear that, like, I don't know, was there some acceleration of the process that it needed to happen right now, and she's too young for that? It wasn't obvious, like, why she was too young for this thing they've been playing forever.
Why did they have to create another one if they already had one that was clearly already going to do it?
Yeah.
They just needed... True. Just why?
Didn't make itself clear.
Or why did they like feel the need to move one of them around, Margaret around, to keep their tracks hidden? But then Carlita, they were just fine to even just keep her with the same last name as the test subjects.
Totally. Yeah. Yep.
So I've been doing a very minimal amount of Italian learning.
Sweet.
Just like Duolingo.
Heck yeah.
So I'm not good at it. But when the little girls were teaching her that phrase, I'm a butterfly, I knew what farfalla meant.
Sweet.
And I was like, ah. And then she said it later. And then they said like the teacher thing. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not it.
That's awesome. I love that you knew before they revealed it. That's great.
Yeah, I was like an actual Italian person sitting there like, oh, they're fucking with her.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I would say overall the movie did feel pretty scary. I wouldn't say the parts, like the jumpy scary parts, were that bad. But like the parts that were like when she's constantly being molested by the devil, like that stuff is pretty bad. That whole ending scene where they're like forcing her to give birth and shit.
Yeah.
Oh, and they pull that like egg sack looking thing. I don't know. It was creepy.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
I think the moment after the babies were born and they started playing that chanty like music, which is actually music they used in, who knows, maybe all the movies, but I like definitely specifically remember it from the second one. That was where it felt most like the Omen, was just like them reverencing this like child of Satan and it playing that music. It's like, okay, this is what it's about. This is what these movies do. It's creepy in that way. But yeah, it in all the other ways, it was an effective horror movie for sure. Like it did some stuff that, yeah, like if it were its own property, would have probably really been the right things to do.
Yeah, and that's why I think all the stuff connecting it to the first movie were my least favorite. Like I feel like this movie would be better separate than it is in a whole.
Yeah, totally.
What is that first scene all about? So is Ralph innocent? Is he a part of this weird cult thing in the beginning, or is he not?
He's not. I think what it was the guy that was talking to him in the booth was like acting on his behalf as an undercover agent. Like I think that he sent him to find out about what these people were doing because he knew something was up. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also thought his death was a little weird, where like the thing comes down, he turns around, and there's just like a cut in his head. Like, I don't know. And then he doesn't fall down.
Yeah, like that thing, even if it just
It's a
hit him
little
enough to
ridiculous.
scoop him like that, it would have knocked him clean down. Like there's no chance.
Yeah.
It's not like it has a razor's edge and that can happen without him noticing. Like,
No, it was a pipe. It was a thick pipe.
and it doesn't collapse him; it just scoops him very nastily.
Was that kill where they jump off the roof? The nun jumps off the roof. Is that used in every movie, or is it just the first one?
Just the first one.
Okay, and then so it's the first one, the remake, and now this one where they all use the same kill.
Yeah, I don't know if they did this in the remake, but the thing where she, on like rebounding, she like breaks a window, that also happens in the first one.
I haven't seen the remake. I just saw the trailer.
Okay.
So I don't remember that part.
Okay.
But I don't know. That feels weird to reuse that same kill.
Yeah, I like that they didn't try to play it off as something original. Like she said, "This is all for you."
line.
Like they definitely cued it, but yeah, they didn't need to do that. There was no need for that to be repeated.
Mm-hmm.
I think another. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Another thing that was, instead of being like copying the original, was like a departure that really bothered me, was the fact that the jackal was like a giant like hellhound demon beast thing, when in the first movie it was actually just a jackal. Like they actually find the skeleton of the jackal and it's like a jackal, just an animal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems, instead of like a big CGI.
Yeah.
So is that the thing? The jackal is the thing that's like molesting her the whole time. It's not.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's
The
creepy.
hand and everything. Yeah.
Did you understand why they were kept going back to the protests and stuff, or is it just the fact that is that how they brought in the secularism?
I think that's exactly what it is. And on that note, I think that was part of the misstepping that this movie did.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this movie was written by someone who grew up with a lot of religious trauma. And so more than anything, more than even a movie about the Omen, what they did was they made like a scary church movie. That seemed to be the goal more than anything. So where they could show the contrast between like a psychotic obsession with control and power, the contrast between that and liberation, whether it be through riots or whatever else, or the main character telling the nuns that it's their fault that the girl is crazy, like wherever they could highlight that contrast, they would. So I think they highlighted it just like in the world at large, like protests because people are tired of it, and church up to the same old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I assume those protests were potentially real.
I'm sure they were. Yeah.
I did. What is the reason in the Omen that they they try to do the Omen? Did they ever explain it?
Not beyond that these people were actually just servants of the devil.
Okay, so yeah, that seems weird. That in this one, it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that bothered me too. It was like, oh no, it's because what they tried to do is they tried to synonymize evil and worship of an antagonist in the form of the devil. They tried to synonymize that with the church and its
control,
obsession with control and stuff like that. And yeah, obviously those like bad things, the like power hungry behaviors are like obviously also evil, but like the whole the whole point of the Omen is like these are people who have departed from like, and Ralph Fiennes's character was like, oh, there's the church that believes in Christ, and then there's the power hungry church. And in the real world and in the original trilogy, those are one entity. It's like good and bad within the same thing. It is what it is. But these people who were these devil worshipping people who wanted to bring about the rise of the Antichrist, they had departed from that whole. They were no longer part of the good or the bad parts of the church. They were just double agents. They were there serving a completely different God and trying to bring his stuff to bear. And I think that is a creepier story, a more interesting story, overall a better story than, oh, well, you see, they're so obsessed with power that, I'm sorry, I got like a minute left, like a full minute to say about this thing. This bothered me so bad, dude. The explanation just internally like contradicts itself. It just doesn't work. He's like, he's talking about how there are those who believe and those who want the power. And the people who want the power, like, logically, they don't actually believe. Because if they did, they would know that killing people for power is bad, and they would know there's a punishment awaiting them. So obviously they don't really believe in the ways that matter. But they believe in this supernatural stuff enough to believe that they can supernaturally bring about this figure who is the counter to Christ, so that then people will be brought to cower and return to the church. It's like, no, if you believe in all this stuff, you believe in it. If you don't, you don't. And they like don't believe in it enough to seek after their own stuff in the form of power, but they believe in it enough to, I guess, I'm not finding the words for it, but it didn't play logically for me.
Okay.
And it seemed like it was, again, just this person's hit piece on the Catholic Church. It's like, that's fine. Like, take your jabs, but like, don't screw up an already good existing story to do that.
Right. The Satanist stuff was good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I was gonna, yeah. I thought that it was just so quick, that explanation when they're in that, and then we don't really see many other religious people that are the good Catholics, right? So I definitely see where you're coming from. It doesn't, I mean, I just don't have that big of an attachment for it. But I definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think that, like, you take the cardinal character, Bill Nighy. Like, you look at that guy, and his character is someone who, like, absolutely, apparently, believes that the church is the answer, and that he's doing this thing for the greater good to drive people back toward the church. But it's like,
in the way they talk about like God in it seems very more like they're just talking about the devil.
Yeah, and that's
like when
totally
the roommate character says like, "Oh, I heard his voice," and all that kind of stuff. Like it that felt creepier than it did like reassuring.
Yeah, I did find myself wondering from time to time, like when any given character was talking, if they were talking about God or Satan. So that was probably a pretty effective thing to do to muddy the waters in that way. But yeah, I think that to pretend that all of these characters are so like childishly ignorant to their own game that like they just don't understand. It doesn't seem like,
it's a weird explanation.
Totally. Someone with that much commitment to a thing with very clear rules of play. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, it doesn't seem like the characters can be dumb enough to believe those contradicting things and also smart enough to execute such an intricate multi-generational plan.
Overall, though, I wanted to mention one more thing. The opening where they're showing the woman and she's like breathing in the bag over and over again. It was just an interesting shot. Yeah. And like the way it would like show her teeth and then like let go, and it was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
I would say this movie it's okay. I mean, I think I liked it when I was watching it a lot. but then some of the parts where it does feel like too much of a modern movie and too many tropes. Like some of that brings it down for me in retrospect.
Yeah.
But it still does things that I like. So
yeah, I think that if anyone goes and sees this, doing it the way I did it is not the right way. Like watching the other movies and this one like right next to each other, because it feels a bit disconnected. But yeah, as its own thing, like there's way more to enjoy watching it like that.
Is there do you have another transitional?
Let's see. Yes. Okay. Speaking of internally contradictory and conflicting things, when there are two factions inside of one whole unit warring against each other.
There's like 3 factions, I think, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I couldn't bring it home, sorry.
You're good. Do you think that movie because it doesn't really explain the war all that much.
Right.
I'm starting to realize, does that matter, or is that playing into the themes of the movie?
I think it is playing into the themes of the movie, despite the fact that while watching it, I wanted to know, like I wanted it to go there. I think that for what it was, it did itself more favors by focusing on what it focused on.
Yeah, focusing on the actual conflict at the time and not like the things leading up to.
Yeah.
So, because the only thing I got by the end of it really was that Nick Offerman was a dictator, but I didn't really know like. And that I didn't even know he served a 3rd term, or he was serving a 3rd term until I looked it up after.
Oh,
which could just be.
I missed that.
Yeah. So, I don't know if the movie explains it. Again, you realize, like, when they're doing when Jesse Plemons is saying, like, what kind of American are you? And you realize that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of Civil War?
I liked it more than I thought I was going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that this was just going to be a giant exercise in someone asking like the obvious dumb questions related to. I shouldn't say dumb. I'm just a mean person, you know this. But asking the obvious questions related to the uncertainty in our time, like, what if America had another civil war? And from the trailer, I thought that that's all this movie would be, was someone going, what if? And then just like letting it run wild. But no, it was, I felt like it was an actually planned, paced,
thought
out, well done movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting having the younger photographer, Jesse, and Lee, because I started paying attention to like their differences and kind of how they were growing.
Yeah.
So I was pretty into it, like pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because I like A24 a little too much. Maybe it's because I really like Alex Garland. I really like Alex Garland.
I'm learning that I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and like Annihilation is probably a perfect movie in my opinion.
It's so good. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's really hard to get it, and I had to like watch some videos that like kind of went into the details of Annihilation for me to get it.
Yeah, I think I probably only get it on a superficial level. There's probably more I could learn about it.
Dude, we'll do an episode where we just watch Annihilation, and then we'll watch the videos explaining Annihilation, and then we'll be good.
Sweet.
So okay, I really liked all the characters in this movie. I can't remember what is the dude who wants to do the interviews name.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Wait, the dude who wants to do the interview with Lee, or the old dude? Like, because Lee is the one that wants
Joel.
Okay, is that the young dude or the?
That's the guy that like they're like Lee and Joel are like the two dudes. They like go around with each other.
Yeah.
They're in the. Like I really like Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy that he brought to it, and then like Kirsten Dunst is also amazing.
She was, yeah.
In this.
I think the movie like kept me from excuse me. Or rather, I think the things that I thought I could obviously expect from the movie weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought, based on Joel's energy early on, that he would quickly be shown to be an irresponsible, erratic, like causes everything to go to hell, die halfway through the movie character, just like an actual problem, though he just thinks he's having fun. Like that was who he seemed like to me at the beginning, and this movie did not do that with him at all. And it let him be
he's very adult.
Totally. Let him be slightly irresponsible from time to time, but it didn't, I guess it just didn't fall for any of the easy stuff that I've learned to expect, which was so nice.
Mm-hmm. Like, even with like Jessie, you would think that she would become like a problem early on, being so young, but she learns pretty quick, and the moments with her, like she's so adult. I don't know how old she's supposed to be in the movie.
I think it said 23.
Okay. But like her conversations with Lee are very interesting in the way that she like by the end of the movie, the way that she's like like it seems like Lee and her trade places.
Yeah.
Because Lee starts to, in that final scene, is more like hesitant to go out. Like she's being more like shocked by everything.
Totally.
And, having like a breakdown in that final like break through that wall. And then Jesse is becoming the like, I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna get the shot. The person that we thought Lee would be.
Yeah.
Or in the person. Yeah.
To the point that when Lee died right in front of her, she almost didn't even look back after all of that, and she falls down right next to her, and she has only looked at her through her camera and only up to the moment of her death. And then when she exits frame, it's like she gets up and just walks straight forward, almost didn't even look back. It was all about the action. And then she did finally take a glance back, but then keep on. Yeah, she really transformed.
Very. So, yeah, when she takes that picture of Lee dying, do you think that's like a cold thing, or like? Because it feels surgical in a way, like she just wanted the picture of the moment.
Yeah.
Or do you feel like that was like? Different. I can't put a different word onto it.
It felt like kind of felt like both things that I think you're getting at, because it was definitely her fully coming into that headspace that Lee had described that she needs to be in, but it also felt like either psychopathically detached, like to a level that didn't make sense, or shock response, like
guilt.
Yeah, and detaching for those reasons. But it did, for whatever reasons, it did also allow her to, just fully become that like fly on the wall that is her job description.
All of the like the reporters and stuff, it felt like it was. Like when Lee's falling out of it, I described it as like like she was losing like the passion for the craft or the illusion of the craft, like, because essentially it's like they're pitting the idea of like these pictures as like a form of art, and like they call them good pictures, but in reality it's like it's war, it's tragedy. Like I'm pretty sure even like, when they say that, like, oh, that's a good picture.
Right.
Like that guy died. the dude that was
Right.
licking out his arm.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a good point. And like it kind of feels like that leans into a question about whether or not there is an objective right and wrong. Like what is morality? And the area they're getting into is like, I guess, is asking that question. They're committing to, we're going to not care for the sake of documenting, but the purpose of documenting is so that we can help people to care about the right things. So it's kind of playing both sides of that fence, but the action of is very much like there is no right or wrong in taking pictures. Like they have to embrace that in order to do it. It's very strange.
Very, very interesting. And then I don't know. And then I keep thinking back to like when Lee's laying in the grass and they're doing the sniper conversation.
Yeah.
And she's not even looking at the house anymore because she's like starting to like peer through the grass and like, so like Jesse goes out of focus and she starts focusing on the grass.
Right.
Because I feel like she's connecting back to reality in those moments, or like the small parts, the small parts of life, and like realizing what it is to live. Maybe I don't know.
Totally. And do you think that's a response to her being in like basically in full exposure, in close proximity to this long term, in a way that like, or I guess like on this trip, like pretty constantly, to the extent that she basically feels death looming and feels the need to appreciate things? Or is it unrelated to that and she's just been doing this gig for so long that it's finally losing its glamour or whatever?
I'm wondering, because I feel like her backstory was that she's been doing this for a while, so I feel like she's always been in constant conflict, taking pictures.
Yeah.
Remember, because they say like, oh, you got your big start with the massacre of Antifa. So it's like she's been in it, but I'm wondering if it's Jesse, like,
oh yeah,
something like that, something to do with becoming disillusioned by it.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
We see one of the first things in the movie is that she chooses to save Jesse when the suicide bomber comes.
Right. Yeah.
Which is such a fucking way to open this movie,
yeah.
right?
And like when the chick is just running with the flag, I just thought like, oh, it's just some crazy person running with a flag because people do weird stuff in protests. And then when Lee realizes what's going on, she's like, oh shit, and that's when you know what's about to happen. You're like, oh, yeah, that was pretty strong.
And then like the burning flag falling from the sky.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I don't know how long the war's been going on, but the fact they had a flag made with 2 stars.
Yeah.
It's still 13 stripes for the colonies.
Yeah.
I like the. Do we ever see Lee's photos? Because I know we see Jesse's photos because they're black and white. Yeah. So whenever she takes, you know it's hers. I can't remember if we see Lee's though.
I actually don't know. I can't think of it. That's a good question. Would there be? Would you attribute any significance to not seeing them? Like if we don't, is there any reason?
It would seem like the movie is just trying to, I don't know, fully go into Jesse's perspective then. Yeah. And we see Jesse's growth. Yeah. And maybe it's not Lee who's really the main character as but again, I can't remember, so I don't want to say make that a judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was some of your favorite parts from it?
I mean the scene with Jesse Plemons I really liked because it felt like it was a stereotypical scene of like feeling like there's no way out, and then someone comes and rescues you. And with what's his name, Thufir from Dune,
Uh-huh,
coming and just plowing Jesse Plemons with the car. It was like such a welcome relief because it was such a like high tension in that scene. I really liked that, and it actually, it actually felt like if there were any moments that I like maybe didn't necessarily believe or didn't think that like, well, Americans couldn't be pushed to this or that, over who knows what, like who the president is or whatever, who knows what they were fighting about. Any skepticism I had was not present in that scene at all. Because it was like I was seeing a person who seemed like a real type of person who would really be doing something crazy in the name of a simple principle, like we see people in our country embracing on either side of a topic. They get just real dug in on like a one sentence summary of a principle, and it kind of feels like they'd be willing to shoot someone over it. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons does really make you believe that.
Yeah.
Because, God, he's such a good actor.
Yeah. Also, dude, there have been a couple of war scenes in things that have like actually like really impacted me in ways that the other ones haven't, and like kind of like making me feel like I'm actually present during a conflict. And the siege scene of the White House felt like that to me. Like I feel pretty positive that they had, and it would make sense to do this. This is what you do when you're making a movie. But in terms of like the military, like extras, the people or extras, featured extras, whatever, the small parts, people executing all the tactical functions and whatnot. It seems very likely that they had like actual either military or former military personnel doing this, like people who had actually maybe been involved in not just training but like actual conflict, because those people they just didn't seem like they were acting. They seemed really sold on what was happening, and I guess.
You still with me?
Oh, sorry, you cut out. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Your internet might be shitting out.
No! Can you
see me?
Give me 1 second.
Oh, darn.
Okay, can you hear me?
Can you still see me?
I can see you.
I can hear you.
But you can't see me.
Yeah, it's a little blurry now. No, I can see you.
Okay, sick.
Can you see me?
Sick. Yeah, I can see you. Okay. Am I coming through clearly?
No, but it's not like this is the footage we're going to use.
Cool. Is my voice clear?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What was the last thing that I said before it cut out?
You were saying they were real military personnel. That was
right.
You were in the middle of that.
Yeah, and the scene itself, the actual I don't know, the actual like fighting siege. And the siege itself, all of that, I don't know, that whole episode of the conflict like made me feel like I was actually in the middle of a place where stuff was actually going down, and I've never been in a situation like that. I don't know what it actually feels like, but that made it feel more real to me than most conflict scenes do.
It was definitely a feat to watch the or and just be in that, because like all the sound design and everything was and also the fact that they were ever tricked by those fucking black vans, the tinted yeah, the anybody was tricked by that, like no shit, he's not in there.
Right, yeah, that seemed pretty obvious.
I do really like that scene with the two snipers.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the significance of Christmas is. I couldn't really figure it out.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a significance there.
Yeah. There has to be. I hadn't really stopped to think about it.
Mm-hmm. But like them sitting there, and then he has that conversation where he's like, do you know what side this guy's on? And they're like, no. And then they ask her, do you know what's in that building? And she says, well, someone's shooting at us. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. That exchange was so like entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a really good scene.
Yeah, but it reinforces the fact that like at some point the fighting is faceless.
Yeah. And honestly, the Christmas thing might have just been pure juxtaposition, because it's like
True.
peace on earth, goodwill toward men, and here's a guy that, again, he doesn't even know. Yeah, doesn't even know if he's on this side of the conflict or that side, but he doesn't have goodwill toward him, no matter who he is. And they're just shooting at each other. Yeah.
Oh, another thing. When Kirsten Dunst Lee deletes the photo, that's another indication that you can tell that she's pulling away.
Good point. Yep.
Because it's like a really good photo, but it's of her friend that died, and she has some kind of remorse about it.
Yeah. And a guy who's known in the journalism world, and it's a photo that would have been famous as the death photo of so-and-so that everyone knows about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then how Joel, like, his obsession becomes like, well, he didn't die for anything good, because they're about to siege.
Yeah.
It's constantly playing with the idea of like, what is art and what is, or like why are we doing things, or what does life mean, or what does conflict mean?
Yeah.
What does death and conflict mean?
Right. Yeah, I thought her I can't remember if she was talking to Joel or if she was talking to Jesse, but or no, she might have been talking to whatever the old dude's name was. Whatever, she was talking to someone at some point.
Sammy was the old dude.
Okay, so it might have been her talking to him when she was like, every time I was in a conflict zone and I was getting these pictures, I thought I was sending him a message or a warning back home, like, don't do this. And she's like, we're here anyway. Thought that was pretty powerful, because it's like, that's, it seems obvious, right? It seems obvious, like, hey, let's not let this get to the point of us killing each other. But that's never stopped anyone.
Yeah. It's very, like, if we did ever go through a civil war, I think this is a pretty accurate depiction of, because once you're in war, it becomes less about what you're fighting for, and it becomes less about who you're fighting and more what you're fighting for.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to think about. That we also went through a civil war, and it wasn't all that long ago.
Right. Yeah. That is crazy to think about.
Well, it'll never happen, bro. It'll never happen. Yeah. Okay, I want to talk that final picture. Well, like because the movie ends with them killing the president, Nick Offerman, who we only really ever see in the beginning, and like he's just like this groveling, sniveling. And they Sammy has that line where, like, what does he say? Like, the last thing is never. You know what I'm trying, when he talks about like the other dictators that have been killed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's like, he says something about like, you always think that they're gonna be like, not strong men, but like something about them. I don't know. He just says they're underwhelming or unimpressive or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last thing he says is what, like, don't kill me, or.
Yeah, that's right. Don't let them kill me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he says, oh, that's good enough. And then they just shoot him, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And then she breathes, right? And then, because this is what Lee told her, she breathes, and we just look through that camera, and then she takes the final photo. That was it. And then the credits start coming over on like a developing photo of them just like sitting over the body, smiling, wide ass grins, and it's so dehumanizing.
It totally is. And it was very interesting to think about these pictures being like in a history textbook or something in 50 years. And because like you see some pretty crazy pictures of conflicts in our past, and to know that any one of these would be that super famous picture in a future of the United States. It was very interesting to think of it like that. It's just like, what would people think about this looking back on it, as opposed to it's happening right now, you know?
Yeah, it's just them smiling, like they're posing, and they're so like it's. I don't know. That really gets me. Yeah. Because it's like no matter what, like he's a dictator, and we don't really know what he did, so that's part of the reason why maybe I feel guilt about it.
Sure.
But like, dude's a dude, and they're just standing over him like he's a buck.
Yeah. When you see characters doing that with someone that you have no particular feelings toward, or against or whatever, it makes you think like, wow, people can like get this way with anyone. Because like I kind of think like there are some people who have lived or are alive that like I wouldn't really think twice about their death. Like I think that, and I like tend to believe that I have like good reason to feel that way about them or whatever. Hitler as an example.
Right.
But yeah, like the fact that I can feel that way about a person, it probably means that like someone could feel that way about literally anyone and just not care and totally dehumanize them. Yeah. Scary.
I mean, there's hundreds of deaths in just this movie in that last action scene that you don't know anything about them. You just knew what side they were fighting on.
Yep.
And really, you didn't even know that. You just knew they were fighting on the opposite side of the characters we're watching.
Right. Yep.
Or like that scene. Oh, when they come in and it's like the press lady, and then she's like trying to get like some kind of deal to happen.
Oh yeah.
And then they just shoot her.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's a heavy movie.
It is. Yep.
I want to watch it again though too.
I think that's part of why it felt real to me, is because it felt chaotic. It didn't feel planned, and like that conflict just has to feel like that. It has to feel like pure chaos, even when it's like, you know, executing a plan. It's like if there are things blowing up and people losing appendages and getting opened up and stuff like that, like that's so outside of the boundaries of what we do in a day that it amounts to just pure chaos, even if there's a method to the madness or a plan going on. It's still just pure chaos.
Yeah.
And this movie portrayed that. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's all I've got on Civil War.
Same. I'm gonna be watching Alex Garland a little closer, I think.
Yeah. There was like a bunch of stuff that was saying like he was gonna quit, and I think it was just like some people reading interview headlines wrong.
Oh, interesting.
But I think I also then saw something that was like, no, you took that out of context, so I guess we'll just see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So next time, let's see. So we've got Abigail.
Yes, I want to see that.
Yes, well, I've seen that trailer a couple of times, and it looks good. A movie, I don't know if it'll be good, but I want to watch it. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah. I'd be down to watch that.
Okay, and then there was one more. Oh, and then the either Boy Kills World and Challengers. Did you watch the trailer for Challengers?
No.
Was Zendaya?
Challengers? Haven't heard of this.
Look it up.
Challengers.
See if it's worth it.
Oh, the tennis one.
Yeah.
I'd be happier to just stick with Boy Kills World than to try to fit both of those in.
Come. Come.
Yeah. That's great.
And then I was thinking after that, damn it. Maybe we do. Cause the reason I'm saying after is because Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes comes out, and I'm wondering if we should do all of those movies. But The Fall Guy also comes out.
Okay.
And The Fall Guy actually looks like a good movie that we shouldn't skip.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look fun.
We'll figure it out.
We will. Also, if we ever, in terms of doing like themed episodes, like a whole series or whatever else, like we've done a couple of times, one that we should do sometime is like take like all of those A Quiet Place style movies and watch all of those and compare them. So you got like A Quiet Place, the freaking Bird one with Sandra Bullock.
Bird Box.
One with Stanley Tucci that was like a knockoff of A Quiet Place came out. And then like Arcadian with Nick Cage just came out. To like watch all of those and compare would be fun.
I only know the first two you mentioned. I do not know the other two.
Dude, look at Arcadian. It's out right now, I think. Looks super fun.
And you said one with Stanley Tucci?
Yeah. Let's see. That one's called The Shish Place. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what it's called.
Shalom Amor? No,
Nope.
That's a podcast. Stanley Tucci makes a lot of movies.
He does. Oh, it's called The Silence.
The Silence? How long ago?
2019. So like right after A Quiet Place.
Okay. That'd be interesting. And Arcadia. We gotta just figure out the times when nothing's coming out.
Yeah, right.
Is this
Which we
does
probably
this movie
won't have.
actually look good?
Arcadian? It looks good, but in a way that I'm pretty sure it's not going to be. Like, it looks like it only looks good, and then you're going to get there and watch it and it's going to be like, oh yeah, it's full of disappointment. That's what it seems like. But
okay. We'll keep that in our heads. I'm down.
Cool.
Before we end, are there any movies? We haven't really talked about like the things we're most excited for this year. Do you have anything you're like super down for?
Every time I go to a movie theater and I see all the trailers, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta remember that, and I always forget. The Joker 2 trailer just came out, and that looks pretty great.
It does.
Yeah.
The Bike Riders that.
Oh yeah, when's that out?
June. I don't know why the trailer has been so in theaters for the last couple months.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Maxine just got a trailer.
Oh yeah, didn't know what that was before seeing the trailer, and after seeing the trailer I was like, might see it, might not.
It's me. Okay. What about Twisters?
It looks like it's not going to be very good, but I have to see it anyway because I loved Twister growing up.
I didn't know what it really was, and then I saw, besides it being a sequel to Twister, but in the new trailer, they had like this nanobot machine that was like gonna stop a tornado, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well. What about Fly Me to the Moon? Did you watch that?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's about them faking the moon landing.
No way. That sounds
Yeah.
great. I am definitely not looking at the right thing.
Did you find like the
Says,
song, the Frank Sinatra song?
Nope, this says a pair of sisters moving from Hunan to Hong Kong in the 1990s are faced with an identity crisis, poverty, and their father's drug addiction. 2023. It looks like a
Yep, that's it. It's got Channing Tatum in it.
This is definitely a movie made in China. Okay, Fly Me to the Moon. Why is it not the first thing to come up? Oh, here we go. Scarlett Johansson, Woody Harrelson, Channing Tatum. Wow. You've got to be kidding me. So is one of these guys playing Kubrick?
No,
not
I don't
Kubrick.
think Kubrick's in it. See my idea. Now that this movie's coming out, my idea is no longer viable. But I thought you should make like a mockumentary of Stanley Kubrick faking the moon landing.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
But that's not what's going to happen.
Marketing?
Because like
Sorry, I was just reading the synopsis.
Yeah, in this one, I think it's Scarlett Johansson is the one doing the moon landing shit.
Okay.
It could still be good, just not what I want.
Yeah. Interesting, though. Interesting thing to do. I'll watch it.
I'm trying to look at like the stuff coming out in the like when everything. Oh, what am I trying to say? The